Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of About the Buckets. How y'all doing? Uh, I'm Jordan, as always, and my buddy Matty Ice, giving you some buckets. Matty, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm well rested, coming off the Costa Rica vacation.
Yeah, very nice.
Um, Obviously talked about it off camera a little bit, and yeah, man, I'm excited to talk about this trade deadline, even though my Lakers did absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I feel like there was a lot of movement, but not a lot of excitement today.
Yeah, I feel like there is. I mean, this is always my favorite time of the year. Well,
Uh-huh.
actually, maybe besides the draft.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, it seemed uneventful but eventful at the same time.
yeah, it was eventful in that I feel like we got a large volume of trades, but really the two biggest trades of this season happened
Before.
last week. Yeah, with
Yeah.
the OG Anunoby to the Knicks and Pascal Siakam to the Indiana Pacers. Those are kind of the biggest like headline moving deals, and they happened. They're old hat by now. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Um,
do you want to start by talking about two deals that happened before the trade deadline that are a little bit older but still recent enough that we didn't talk about them last time?
yeah. So we have a list of all the deals. We're just gonna go through them and talk about the ones that are semi-relevant. Steven Adams to the Rockets. We never talked about that one.
Did we talk about Terry Rozier? Because I said two, and then I was like, wait, that might have happened a lot longer than I remembered. Because he's actually played a good amount of games for them.
I don't think we did talk about Terry Rozier.
Okay.
Um,
Which might be important since this is,
yeah. So let's talk about Scary Terry.
yeah.
So the Heat gave up a 2027 first round pick and the corpse of Kyle Lowry for Terry Rozier. What were your thoughts? What are your
I thought,
thoughts?
yeah, no, I think it's a good trade for the Heat. I mean, you get Kyle Lowry's contract off the books. I think Terry. I mean, I don't know what's Terry Rozier's actually. As I say that, um, you give up a first round pick, but I mean Terry Rozier's a solid
Yeah.
guard, and I think it adds another dynamic to their offense, another guy that can initiate offense on his own. Um,
Yeah.
I think it's a trade that they needed to make.
I agree. Kyle Lowry not really doing anything for you at this point. Like
Yeah,
he's been bad this year. Um, and like I'm not a big Terry Rozier guy myself. Um, but like
but that's
he's
a
just enough.
significant upgrade.
Yeah, there's no way that you can cut it negatively. The first round pick, but if I'm a Heat fan, I genuinely feel this way about the Heat. Like their roster makeup, Pat Riley's age, like they just have to be making all in moves. So trading a first round
Yeah,
pick for Terry Rozier just is not a. It's not something that worries me enough to not do it.
yeah. And that first round pick was lottery protected, right?
I believe so. Um, yeah. The thing I
So,
didn't like about it is so there was this one part of it that I didn't like. Lottery protected in 2027. If it does not convey, it becomes unprotected in 2028. So,
oh,
yeah. So, like, if the bottom totally drops out on the Heat, which it won't, it probably won't. I mean, they're the Heat, right? They're very
hmm,
well run. They're always good. Um, that could potentially be like a top 10 pick in 2028. But I don't know. I still
hmm,
say you do it. It's not a big enough
yeah,
deal to make me not like it, but I cringed a little bit when I read that part.
yeah. I mean, I know we're at the point that Terry Rozier's played a few games. I think it's going to take a little while,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, Different team dynamic and whatnot, but I do think he's going to um, add some much needed offense
Yeah.
for them. But yeah,
Yep. So next up, my Utah Jazz traded Simone Fontecchio to the Detroit Pistons. The Jazz received Kevin Knox, a 2024 second-round pick via Washington, and the draft rights to Gabriel Procida. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he's an Italian player.
Mhm.
That pick that they got is probably going to be 32 or 33 in this year's draft. So not a terrible pick, especially for Simone Fontecchio. I mean, last year he was out of the Jazz rotation. This year started about 30 games for him, but he was expiring restricted free agent. I mean, he's probably going to sign a deal in the offseason to make 10 million a year. I just
Mhm.
would guess that the Jazz weren't interested in that. So,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, getting the
You get a
32nd pick in the draft for a guy that you were going to let walk anyways, I'll take it.
yeah. I think the other thing that it's kind of funny too. Well, I don't know about funny, but Kevin Knox. How many times has this guy been traded? Or
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, Knicks, it, Detroit, Portland.
Yeah.
I th- I know there was another team, and
Yeah.
then now the Jazz. Like,
Yeah. I'll be interested to see if he gets a shot in the rotation. I would guess
yeah,
no, but you never know. Um, okay, next up is Xavier Tillman to the Celtics. Um, Celtics traded Lamar Stevens, a 2027 second round pick via Atlanta, and a 2030 second round pick via Dallas. Um, I mean, I like it. Xavier Tillman, I like Xavier Tillman.
I
I
do
don't
too.
blame the Grizzlies are kind of in free fall, so like
Yeah, they
it's
had.
whatever. But yeah, and plus the Grizzlies, I mean, they have Jaren Jackson Jr. Um, who else do they? I guess they traded Steven Adams, but it's not like Tillman was getting a ton of minutes, so I like it.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like you look at the Celtics, they needed some depth with
Yeah,
their big men. You have Kristaps Porzingis, who
yeah,
is injury prone. Al Horford is what, like almost 40 years old.
yeah,
Um, and then you have like Luke Cornett. So
yeah,
you kind of got to add someone else into that rotation. When you already have a decent amount of guards and wings. So
yeah,
I think it gives them some much needed depth, and I think it's going to help them in the playoffs. Or if someone goes down, the drop off isn't as significant.
yeah. So next up, I actually think this was a very nice sleeper move for a contender. But is Monte Morris to the Timberwolves. Uh, the Detroit Pistons received Shake Milton, Troy Brown Jr., and a 2030 second round pick. Um, Backup point guard was a big need for the Timberwolves, and they got. I mean, is it Monty or Monte? I don't know.
I'm guessing I've never said his name. Like I think it's Monte.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so he's played in a lot of big playoff games. He has a ton of experience with the Denver Nuggets. He was kind of the fill-in for Jamal Murray when he was out for most of those 2 years. I think he's going to be really great backing up Mike Conley for the Timberwolves, and I think like they have a legitimate chance at the title this year.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I'm a little bit biased. I want the Timberwolves to win the title, but um, I genuinely believe in that team. I think they're going to be there. I don't know if they'll beat Denver, if they'll beat the Clippers, if they'll beat Phoenix or OKC, but like they're going to have an opportunity to get to the finals if they can just keep it going.
Yeah. No, I think too, like he's a pretty legit, point guard to have off the bench. Pretty efficient offensive player. I think he'll fit in nice. And, definitely going to help them as well. So this was definitely a sleeper move, like you said, too.
Yeah. So
But
next up, Buddy Hield to the 76ers. Indiana received Marcus Morris, Furkan Korkmaz, and 3 second-round picks. Solid move for Philly. I'm interested to see how the next few weeks go for them without Joel Embiid. But putting a guy like Hield, who he's an all-world level shooter. When Embiid is back and if he's healthy, having a guy like Buddy Hield will really just make life so much easier for Embiid. So I think it's a solid move.
Yeah, I know his numbers have dipped a little bit, but his percentages are still really good.
Yeah.
I think he'll be good in his role. I think he's going to get even more open shots, especially when Joel Embiid comes back. You literally just give up 3 second-round picks, which is absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
You sign undrafted free agent. It's second-round picks are, something you definitely give up for a guy like Buddy Hield. I know he's not performing at the same level, as he has in the past few years, but he's still one of the best shooters in the league. And you gotta pull the trigger too.
I think there's something to be said for some guys who are good that get stuck in kind of a bleak situation. It's not like Indiana's been resurgent this year, but Buddy Hield's been there for a minute. He's been in trade talks since the day he got there. It just kind of happens where, guys can get worn down in their situation and be totally revitalized. So, I wouldn't be super worried about, his falling numbers. I think he's going to be a good role player that can just plug right into a team that's going to use him. Next up, Daniel House to the Pistons. He's going to be waived. So he'll be a buyout market guy.
Lakers. No,
yeah, he might be a Laker.
Hey.
Yep. So my Utah Jazz again, Kelly Olynyk and Ochai Agbaji to the Toronto Raptors. The Utah Jazz received Kira Lewis Jr., Otto Porter Jr., and a 2024 first-round pick.
Is that the Raptors pick, or is it a?
It's the worst of Toronto and Houston and the Clippers, I believe.
Oh yeah. We did talk about this. Sorry.
It's gonna be the Clippers pick, almost certainly. It's going to be probably between 25 and 30. So it's not a great pick, but now the Jazz are going to have 2 chances between 25 and 33. It is what it is. I personally didn't want us to trade Kelly Olynyk. Ochai Agbaji, I still believed in Ochai, but
he was kind of falling out of the rotation, wasn't he?
He was. He's really struggled to shoot the ball this year. So I like him. He seems like a really great guy. He's shown flashes of brilliance on defense and shooting the ball, but I'm not super heartbroken that the Jazz are giving up on him. I want to believe in him, but also it's just it probably wasn't gonna work. So yeah, but I really do hate to trade Kelly Olynyk, but he was expiring. Maybe the Jazz just thought that he wasn't in their long-term plans. So
yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I wish we would have traded Jordan Clarkson instead. But most of all, I'm happy that we kept Chris Dunn. He's the guy from this team that they need to resign. They need to sign Chris Dunn to a 4-year deal. So yeah. Anyways,
it's kind of interesting too because Chris Dunn was someone that he was out of the league for a little bit too.
Yeah.
It's crazy how these guys get drafted so young. Teams just give up on them relatively quickly.
Yeah.
And then you see him kind of make a resurgence.
Yeah.
So, but
did you see kind of a random game, but 2 or 3 nights ago, Jazz played the Thunder, actually beat the Thunder. And Chris Dunn, he's a starter for the Jazz. He starts at shooting guard for us, or he starts alongside Colin Sexton. The defensive performance that he put on SGA was like it had all of the national people talking about it. Like, oh my gosh,
Oh
Chris
wow.
Dunn, needs to be first team All NBA defense. Yeah, like he was very visibly bothering Shea Gilgeous-Alexander all game. Just played incredible defense, and he had like a classic defensive stopper line where he was like 8 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 blocks, 2 steals, something like that.
Yeah.
A quintuple single, but like, but really dictated the pace of the game on the defensive end of the floor. Like he really did a great job. So
Yeah.
kudos to Chris Dunn. I hope he plays for the Jazz for a long time.
That's funny.
Okay, moving on to the next trade. So this was one of the bigger trades of the day.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Oh wait, I skipped one. We're gonna go to the big one anyways because I already teased it. Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks to the New York Knicks. The Knicks trade Quentin Grimes, Evan Fournier, Malachi Flynn, Ryan
Archie. Oh my god, I used to know how to say it because he's from Villanova. Archie
Diacono.
Diacono. Yeah. That's right.
Archie Diacono. 2 future second-round picks. I actually love this for both teams.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 very beloved former Jazzmen in Alec Burks and Bojan Bogdanovic. The Knicks have a lot of firepower now to go along with OG Anunoby, Jalen Brunson. I'm not the biggest Julius Randle fan. I think that's going to come back to bite them, is depending on him. But, man, having your wings as Bogey and Bojan Bogdanovic and OG Anunoby, like, it's a lot of defense and that's a lot of offense.
Yeah. Well, then you mentioned Josh Hart too, one of the a solid 3-and-D guy that one of the best rebounding guards in the league. It's a lot of versatility when it comes to your wings and guards, man.
Bogdanovic is truly one of the worst defensive players I've ever seen in my life. However, I think he's one of the most underrated offensive players in the entire league.
Oh yeah.
When the Jazz had their awesome season, they finished first. They were the first overall seed in the NBA, best record. One of the big games down the stretch of the season was, Jazz versus Nuggets. It was in Utah. Both Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell were out. Nikola Jokic played. And the game turned into Bojan Bogdanovic and Nikola Jokic going like blow for blow at the end of the game. And Jazz won in overtime. Bogdanovic had like 44 points and like 6 rebounds. Amazing game. So he can score with the best of them. He's just a really bad defensive player. So I'm really excited to see. I hate the Knicks personally. Sue me. I don't care. But like I'm excited for Bogey to be playing important basketball again.
Yeah.
He was too good to be wasting away in Detroit for a year and a half.
Oh man, it's a brutal place to go.
Yeah.
To be honest, that in DC, man.
Yeah. What are your thoughts about that trade?
No, I liked it. Like I referenced, I think it gives them versatility. I think they have guys that can do different things now, which I think is big in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Especially. And I think, like you said, Bogdanovic is like one of the most underrated players on offense.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people that watch the NBA, I don't want to say don't know him, but aren't even aware of like, tell him how many, because when he was on the Jazz, he was putting up like 20 a game for multiple seasons, right? Like there was like 2 or 3 seasons he did that. You would know better than me. But definitely an underrated guy. And Alec Burks too.
Yeah.
That's an underrated pickup as well. He's kind of, I want to say he's getting to his mid 30s now, right? But he's still got a few seasons, and no, it'll be interesting to see how this Knicks team looks.
Bogdanovich, I think the lowest he scored with the Jazz was like 18, and I think he played 3 or 4 seasons with them. So he's definitely over 20 for at least one, maybe two of those.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I
Um,
was thinking too.
yeah, and really, he was their second option on offense. He kind of was the guy that always got overlooked because of Conley and Mitchell and Gobert doing stuff, but like Bogey was the guy when Mitchell was not on the floor for sure. He was
Yeah.
kind of always our second option. Um, last little nugget that is hilarious to me. So referencing Donovan Mitchell, actually, remember back when the Knicks and the Jazz were talking about doing that trade,
Oh yeah.
and the Knicks were saying that the Jazz were asking for an outrageous package, which was R.J. Barrett, Quentin Grimes, Obi Toppin, and Emmanuel Quickly, and like 3 first-round picks. All those players are gone now,
I know, that's so funny.
and
You're
they didn't
mentioning all
really.
these guys.
Yeah.
Well, and
And
how many of them are doing things like okay, well, I will
Yeah.
say RJ Barrett actually has kind of been performing well for the Raptors, but Obi Toppin, they
yeah,
were super high on him, and I don't really,
yeah, and the Knicks are just like, back then they were just like, no, Quentin Grimes is untouchable. It's like, really, you just traded him and a whole bunch of other stuff to get some aging veterans. So
yeah.
yeah, big L for the Knicks, but you know what? They're doing better than we are right now. So I guess I can't talk too much crap. I will say though, I am happy with Lowry Markkanen and Colin Sexton over what the Knicks could have given us. Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on. Gordon Hayward is traded to the OKC Thunder. Do you believe in Gordon Hayward?
I mean, obviously Gordon Hayward is nowhere near the same player he used to be after
Yeah.
that injury when he was like on the Celtics.
Yeah.
But I think this is an underrated move in terms of like it adds a veteran in the locker room. I think it could really help them, like, with the playoffs and everything. Trey Mann, correct me if I'm wrong, he was kind of like towards the end of the rotation, right?
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure on that one, but I mean, you get rid of Bertans too.
Yep.
I know Gordon Hayward. Do you know how many years he has left on his deal? Can I look that up real quick?
Oh, I think it's just 1 or 2.
Yeah, so you have that flexibility. I mean, Bertans had like 3 more years or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really bad contract.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I feel like they acquired that contract just to kind of make a move like this, right? Like, because Gordon Hayward obviously has a heftier contract, but I mean, he's definitely someone that can contribute way more than Davis Bertans ever could.
Yeah. I'm interested to see what happens. I mean, he was here in Utah for a long time.
I know you still have negative feelings about him.
Yeah, I don't like him at all. I don't think he's a good leader. Leadership was never really something he brought to the table with the Jazz. But I think if he can stay healthy and actually be on the floor, I agree with you. I think this is a good. I mean, he's just a guy who knows what to do, even if his ability is not as high as it used to be. Like,
I mean, you gave up 3 guys that aren't playing, right?
And they have plenty of picks, so the pick doesn't matter.
I don't even know what the pick was. Was it like a random second-round pick or something, or?
Oh, I thought it was a first. It might be. It just says draft compensation, but I don't know.
Yeah. So I don't know, or maybe it was a swap. I don't know. Either way, it's like.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, yeah, hard to say it wasn't good. So moving on to the Dallas Mavericks, who I love to talk about because.
Oh yeah. Should we just talk about both the Mavericks trades then?
Yeah, let's do it. So their first
ahead.
one, Daniel Gafford, to the Mavericks. Washington Wizards receive Richaun Holmes and a 2024 first-round pick. It should be noted that to get the full rights to be able to trade that, they had to give a pick swap to the Thunder in 2028. Which could really come back to haunt them big time.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, they traded like one pick and one pick swap for Daniel Gafford. And then also they traded PJ Washington, or they PJ Washington to the Mavericks for
Mhm.
Grant Williams, Seth Curry, and a 2027 first round pick that is top 2 protected, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot to give up.
It is, but I think they're feeling the pressure, right? That they have to make some moves.
Yeah.
They started the season hot, right? Kind of been the opposite of recent. I mean, if you just so we talked about the Gafford trade, right? Initially, and we both were like super into it, and then kind of looking at the compensation draft wise, it's kind of a decent amount. Um,
Yeah, a pick and a pick
I
swap.
Yeah, I do think though. I really do think Daniel Gafford is going to be really good for them. Um,
Yeah.
I'm just I'm with you on the PJ because we talked about this before we
Yeah.
started the show. But PJ Washington's the wild card.
Yeah. I need to get like the clip of Shaq saying barbecue chicken alert every time we talk about the Dallas Mavericks, because I'm just waiting for him to blow up so badly. Um, yeah,
No, it'll be interesting to see though. Yeah, I don't know how it's gonna. I mean, it's an upgrade from playing the guys they currently have to play with Derek Lively being out. I don't really
yeah,
Maxi Cleo. I don't know, man.
yeah. I'm with you. It's
So
so I'm with you that I think Daniel Gafford is a great pickup. I think PJ Washington is a solid pickup. But when you look at trading Grant Williams 2 first round picks and a pick swap to get it, along with Rashawn Holmes and Seth Curry, but like they weren't playing anyways. Like that's hefty.
yeah,
And like, are we really sure that PJ Washington is better than Grant Williams? Like considerably better than Grant Williams. Enough to give your last first round pick.
yeah, man. I
I mean,
mean, he's been
Mavericks
really bad this season, but like
he has, but remember Mavericks fans were saying like it was a big 3. You know, they were like, "We got Grant Williams. That's our big
it's a new
3."
big three. I saw an edit with PJ
Yeah.
Washington and next to Kyrie and Luca. I
Oh
thought that
my
was
gosh.
interesting.
But dude, the Mavs are tapped. They don't have
They don't
any
have a
first.
first round pick, right? For
Yeah. They can't trade one until after this draft. They'll get their like 2031 pick that they can trade.
jeez.
Yeah. And PJ Washington's under contract. Like they don't have any cap flexibility. And they have no picks to trade. Josh Green is kind of their only player that has any value.
Yeah.
And like he's kind of not been playing that great either this year.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he's done anything to improve his trade value. You know, he's just kind of like a young wing that has potential and is a rotation guy. It's not like you're going to be trading him for, Brandon Ingram, you know.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. The Mavericks, they're all in.
I think that's a TBD grade,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know
They're
either.
all in. Hold on, let me look at their record right now. They've actually won 3 in a row.
Are they in the 8th
Yeah.
spot?
Yep.
Okay.
They're the sole owners of the 8th spot. So they're
Where are the
29.
Lakers, 9th or 10th?
Lakers are 9th,
Yeah.
and my Utah Jazz are 10th. So the Dallas Mavericks started 9-3. Okay, when Tim Hardaway Jr. was on a hot streak. Since then, they are 20-20. So
And is Kyrie still out?
I don't know, to be honest. I think he played tonight.
Oh,
But that 20-20 includes a 3-game win streak they just ripped off. So if you would have asked me a week ago, they were 17-20 since that
yeah.
9-3 start. So I don't know, man. I'm kind of hoping that they suck for the rest of the year, but I'm really biased. So
You just want Luca, man.
I do so badly, so badly, man. I can smell the blood in the water. They're trading a pick and a half for Daniel Gafford. I can smell the blood in the water. I just want it so badly. Oh, we texted about this as it happened. So
I know.
Royce O'Neal and David Roddy to the Suns. The Brooklyn Nets receive Keita Bates Diop. I hope I said that right.
Yeah.
Jordan Goodwin, 3 second.
They're both like minimum guys.
Yep. The Grizzlies receive Yuta Watanabe and a pick swap.
Yeah.
What does Royce O'Neal and David Roddy do for the Phoenix Suns, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, I think you can speak more about Royce O'Neal. I'll talk a little bit about David Roddy because that's my guy. Watched a lot of him in college when he was at Colorado State.
Yeah.
Just a guard guard wing that can kind of do everything. I feel like, on a given night, he'll, rebound the ball, play make if he has to, can score as well. I think he's going to be I think he's going to excel in a rotation role for the Suns. And I think it's an upgrade from the guys that they had, kind of on the bench. I think that a lot of their role players coming off the bench were extremely limited, right? Like Okogie, or actually, I don't even know if he starts. Does he?
I don't know.
Josh Okogie? I don't freaking know either. But for instance, it's like, you're going to get really good defense from him, but then offensively, it's like a crapshoot. I think David Roddy is someone that, even though he's young, I think it's like his third year in the league, someone that can provide a consistent, effort in all facets of the game. And Royce O'Neal, I mean, better than anyone else. He played for your Jazz.
Yeah. So I remember seeing someone like an analytics nerd that was a Jazz fan graphed out his last year in Utah, or maybe it was the year that we finished first. But it showed like his 3-point shooting percentage by month. Mm-hmm. And so keep in mind that the Jazz utilized Royce O'Neal as like their premier perimeter defender. Like he was the guy. He was their stopper whenever they played, Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James. And he would start red hot from three. So it'd be like in November, he shot 44% from three. In December, it was like 41. In January, it was 40. In February, it was 38. In March, it was 35. And by April, it was like 28, And so I think the Jazz just overused him in the sense of like, Royce O'Neal is probably a very, very good eighth guy. He can give you good defense because he's a good defender. I wouldn't say he's an elite defender. He's a good defender, and he's a good shooter. But I think the Jazz kind of put him into a role that just ground him down to almost nothing by the end of every year. So I like him. I am actually optimistic that being the seventh guy on Phoenix.
That's what.
Maybe even starting for him, but they're not asking him to be like, "Hey, you got Kawhi tonight," go for it, dude. Phoenix not having to do that with him, or maybe they will. I don't know. I think he's going to be in a better position to succeed than he was in Utah, and he's played in a lot of playoff games. So I think it's a great pickup for Phoenix.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, because I see him fitting in that seventh. I mean, he's a really good seventh, eighth, guy in the rotation.
Yeah.
To have, and then I mean, same with David Roddy too. You look at the top 8 guys they have now, top 8, 9. They got some depth compared to earlier in the year, and they only gave up. I mean, they gave up 3 second-round picks.
Yep.
and a
And
couple
they're
guys. Watanabe wasn't even playing. I thought he was going to have more of a impact, but he wasn't really playing.
yeah.
And then was the pick swap, was that from Phoenix that Memphis got, or was that from?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. So, I mean, either way, I still think it's a win for the Suns.
Yeah. And they've been playing a lot better lately. They're on a
Yeah.
3-game win streak. They're actually only 5 games back of first. I doubt they catch first place, but if there's any injuries from Minnesota, Denver, OKC, LA Clippers, like they could get into that top 4. They're playing really good, and I expect them to be very tough out in the playoffs.
Yeah. I feel like Bradley Beal has kind of turned it up too.
Yeah.
I feel like they're finally like getting comfortable playing with one another.
Yeah.
But should we just kind of go quickly through the last ones because they're not as big? Or
I just think we should touch on the next 2 on the list and then be done.
you don't want to talk about Robin Lopez?
Yeah, right. Patrick Beverly to the Bucks for campaign the 2nd-round pick. Like, I don't know. I think the Bucks are desperation move. We'll see if Beverly lasts the rest of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's worth it for a 2nd-round pick and campaign.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure, it's worth the risk, and
Yeah.
I mean, he can add something. But yeah.
And then the last one we're going to cover, Doug McDermott to the Pacers. He's played there before, right? Didn't he play a few years there after San Antonio?
Yeah, he played there.
Yeah.
He played there before. I mean, I like the fit. Obviously,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's like the next best person to have outside of what's his name? Buddy Hield,
Yeah.
another good shooter. So I mean,
For sure.
immediately just comes in and kind of takes that role. So
Yeah.
thought it was a good pickup for them.
Yep. Okay, well, we are I guess we ran a little longer than we planned on, so we'll wrap it up, but any leftovers we'll catch next week. Thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you check out aboutthefans.com. I'm always wearing their gear. Maddie usually has some on, but not tonight.
Yeah, I did not.
No, it's all good, man. It's all good. Check out aboutthefans.com. Especially if you're a fan of any South Florida teams, you're going to find stuff on there that you love. Follow us on Twitter @AboutTheFans. Check us out. We also have an app now. So download our app, About the Fans, in the App Store on Android or Apple.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Maddie, any last words to add, or are you ready to sign out?
It was cool seeing Kobe's statue. I forgot about that. I was going to mention that. It was, I don't know if you saw it, but it was like after he had the 81-point game and he was like walking off the floor. Apparently that was what he wanted as a statue, but the Lakers are going to honor him with 2 more statues, which will be cool to see. So it was really cool to see as someone that grew up here. You know, he was my favorite player and stuff. So he was huge for the city and whatnot. So also really cool to see.
Like, I've never been a Kobe fan, and that mostly comes from being a Jazz fan. Like, Kobe kicked our butts in the playoffs a few too many times for me to ever like him. But he was like a cultural icon for basketball, he kind of filled that void of like the dynamic wing player after Michael Jordan retired. Really kind of carried the just like the media spotlight through the 2000s until LeBron kind of was ready for that himself. So I think it's awesome that Kobe's being honored. Obviously.
Well, and just like for LA as well, like obviously his wife is Latina, and he was really big part of the Latino community. There was a lot of like outreach and whatnot he did, and obviously like you would see him speaking Spanish and like post game conferences and whatnot. So the Latino community in LA and and other places as well, I'm sure, embraced him and loved him.
Yeah.
He was just a cultural icon. Quick Kobe story. So I don't know if I actually ever told you this. This was like back in, me and my friends call it the dark ages, when Kobe had, guys like Smush Parker and
Yeah.
Kwame Brown and Chris Mim and
Yeah.
all these guys that
Yeah.
But anyways, it was the off season and we were at my dad's high school reunion, and I brought a couple of friends with me and we were like throwing a football around. I must have been in like middle school, I want to guess, or like elementary. I don't even remember how long ago this was, but all of a sudden we just see people. We're at the beach, on the blacktop, like behind the sand. There's like a running trail, and or you can ride your bike there or whatever. We just see people like looking at someone running, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of a tall dude, and I'm like, wait, he looks familiar.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, that's Kobe.
Oh,
then
nice.
You just see people running behind him. It was like almost like a scene out of a commercial, like running behind him, but he's running so fast that like no one could really keep up with him. But you saw like people like trying to take selfies with him, but this was when like people had like the Razor phones and whatnot and stuff. So it was crazy, but he was definitely, huge part. I mean, big for basketball, big for women's basketball too. He was a huge, proponent for it and whatnot. And, one of my favorite my favorite player growing up. And it was just a cool moment and stuff. So, but yeah.
Cool, man. All righty. Well, next Thursday, we'll see all of you again. Okay?
Yep.
Yep. Take care.